All right, we are live.
Hey, everybody, it's Dale Jr. Welcome to the Ask Junior edition or Ask Junior portion of the podcast. Thanks for tuning in this early on a Tuesday. Hope everybody's having a great week so far. We got Will Cronkrite on the podcast this week, and let me tell you a little bit about him. There's a car on the desk here, and it's a white car, number 96. My dad drove it in 1978. Will owned that car, and Will has a lot of great stories about my dad from that year. Will also wrote this book. I Was a NASCAR Redneck, and it's a great book. I've read it. Mike's read it. And he's just got some amazing stories. He was involved in the filming of Stroker Race and so much more throughout his career. So I know you guys are going to enjoy hearing his stories. He's a great storyteller. So just maybe not one of the more well-known names, but absolutely going to be a blast of a podcast. Been trying to get him in here for a long time. So I hope you guys will tune in and tell your friends. But Leah's got all your questions that you sent to Xfinity Racing on Twitter, and we'll see what we got today.
Our first one coming from Patty James. What race are you most looking forward to in the last 14 of the season?
You know, Daytona's always great. I always love going to Daytona, and it's still kind of late in the summer, so the weather will be great. Hopefully we get good weather and don't get any rain. But, yeah, I just love going to Daytona and being at that track and being in that town. It's, it's just something I kind of need in my life, and so I'm looking forward to that.
Next question from Michael Shannon Krause. What was your best off-week adventure? Did you have any adventures?
Yeah, driving home. We went on vacation and had about a 3.5-hour drive with my daughter Isla and Gus, and we drove home last night. And we had 2 bathroom breaks in the trip, which is always eventful. But it went well, and I got home just in time to get Isla right out of the car and into bed. And it sounds like the most simple thing in the world. A dad driving his daughter home, but man, when you do that, Mike, do you not feel like you've just accomplished like you've won the bronze in an Olympic event?
I'd go bigger medal than that.
Bigger than that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't going to go gold, but
go gold, man. It's an accomplishment.
Yeah. I love doing dad things, like picking her up from school, taking her to school. I mean, I know that's the things that people do every single day, but man, it feels good. You're like, yeah, success. I don't know. And the fact that she even wanted to go, so she could have stayed with Amy, where Amy's got a couple more days on vacation. So, but she's like, no, I want to go home with you. So pretty cool.
Next question from Blake McCandless. Is there a difference in your preparation for Watkins Glen as a broadcaster, since you will be doing radio style instead of being in the booth?
Great question, Blake. Blake is an aspiring pit reporter. I know Matthew, his brother Bob, does some TV work, so maybe they could bring Blake in for a little bit of practice, get him some reps at some of these short tracks. But anyways, I think the only thing that I could do that might help me is just to listen to last year's race, maybe listen to a little bit of AMRN radio, some old, some content from the last, several months, and just listen for the energy. It's going to be a little bit different doing it radio style. The energy is a lot higher, and listen to a lot of the ways that the guys hand it off to each other. So imagine radio style as like passing a baton around the racetrack to each announcer. And so it's pretty easy to understand when it's your turn to start talking. And then you've got the hard part is trying to find a place to stop talking that sounds natural and hand it off to the next guy. And not say the same thing over and over again. Not repeat yourself over and over again when you're tossing it. So I'll be picking it up from bags and giving it to Jeff Burton. And so trying to be creative and do that differently every time is probably the biggest challenge. But Probably do me a service to listen to a little bit of the last couple of years there at the Glen and just listen to a couple of things we did and what I liked about it and didn't like about it, and that'd be a good way to get ready. It's gonna be weird because I don't think we've ever done radio style. Maybe we have, but it feels like we haven't done it without practice or some sort of, I'm not sure I'm doing the Xfinity race. I think Parker Klingerman might be doing the Xfinity race, but to jump up in that perch and just green flag, fire off, here you go. I don't know. I like to do radio style. You like to get a little bit of practice. So maybe I could sit at the house watching it on TV and practice in my own living room. We'll see.
Next question from Eric Curry. Given that you started to like road course racing late in your career, which one was your favorite to run, and which track that you never ran you wish you had the chance to?
I enjoyed the Glen quite a bit because you had a turn straight away. I mean, it was a lot more. It was a lot easier than Sonoma. Sonoma, you just turn after turn after turn. And at road courses, especially like Sonoma that have so many turns one after the other, if you mess up the first one, it kind of messes up all the rest. You never, once you kind of get offline in one corner, it hurts the entrance to the next. All that just kind of starts dominoing into a series of corners that are just really bad. And you can, if you have a bad corner on one side of the track, it's going to hurt the whole lap, and so that was always frustrating at Sonoma because I never really thought of stock cars as road racing vehicles. They don't go left and right; they don't change direction really well. Now they've gotten a lot better over the years as technology's changed, and certainly this new car is going to run the road courses a whole lot better. But the Glen was just always kind of fun because you had a simple, you attacked each corner individually, and if you screwed up that corner, you had a chance of getting on the next straightaway to sort it, to regroup and start new. But I think that I never really had road courses that I thought, man, I really wish we could run there or wish I could run there. I never was a massive fan of running road courses and stock cars, so I can't say there's one that I wish I'd have had a chance to race on, but I did drive around Mount Panorama in Australia, and to me that is probably the most impressive road course that I can think of. I think it'd be interesting to watch a cup race there, see our cup cars compete on that track, and I just have a tremendous amount of respect for the difficulty of that place and how dangerous it is and how brave the drivers are to go around it.
Next question from Brian Adams. What immediate impact do you think Brad Keselowski's new influence over at Roush Fenway will have?
I think it'll do some great things, and I think I've been on record as saying that Brad right out of the gate, I can't see their performance. If you just, Brad's going to the Roush. They've struggled to compete with where Brad is currently at Penske. I think that kind of continues. So when Brad goes to Roush, that things just aren't going to turn around immediately. I could be wrong, and I hope that I am wrong. I hope that they get everything out of that deal they want right away. But I think it'll be a process to improve cars and get things better, and get that organization where they used to be. But I think Brad can do it. I think Brad can get them there, but I don't know if it happens right away. So I would not be surprised to see the performance stay relatively where it is now, with a few glimpses of the future mixed in, right? You're going to have those moments where you're going to see Brad overachieve in those cars in the first year, and then that's kind of what the potential is for them in the future. I expect it to kind of go that way. But I think Brad, knowing his knowledge and approach and what he's trying to do and where he is in his life, this is a great opportunity for him and a great new challenge. that he's excited about and thrilled to dive right into. And I think it'll be good for Roush. You know, a lot of the older owners in this sport don't have a plan B or don't have a succession plan, right? Think about it. You know, what's going to happen to several of these teams when the owners age out and retire, or you know, we got new young owners coming into the sport, which is great, like Denny and so forth. But so at Roush, what was the follow-up plan once Jack can't do this anymore, can't physically be there and, you know, be involved? So I think having a guy, a face like Brad Keselowski's a great idea for an organization like Roush to continue, you know, their legacy. So that'll be pretty interesting to see, you know, what happens over the next decade for him and that team.
Next question from Scott Fox. You had Amelia, Rusty had Midnight. Did your dad ever name any of his cars?
I'm sure he did. You know, I'm sure at some point he did, but I don't know. I have to ask some of the RCR guys if there was ever any names for some of their cars. But nothing pops in my head right away. But so unfortunately, I wish I had a cool story for you.
Next question from Rusty. What's the latest do you think a team could decide to get into Cup next year and still get cars built and a team assembled?
Shoot, I don't even know. You know, I don't have a clue. What I don't even know where. I have no understanding of where things are as far as parts and pieces and what's built and what's available. Now I've seen some images and some photos of some manufacturing of the center sections and the chassis and all that, and looks like that there's a lot of inventory being created. So I guess there was some concern about shortage or ability to get parts to teams and so forth, but I think that all that must be going along as planned. I mean, you need just one car, right, to be at a race. So, you know, I don't think you'd prefer to have everything that you need to start your team and have excess of equipment, but you need one car. You need one car and an engine to go to the Daytona 500 and be there and compete. So how you could be, you know, a lot of these teams are going to have to do it on the bare minimum right out of the gate. You know, a lot of these teams aren't, you know, nobody's going to just start with the full deck right away. Not everybody. Certainly not the smaller teams. So some of these teams will be competing on a very thin, margin of material. So it'll be interesting to see how all that plays out. I think we're all curious.
Next question from Cole Curry. Do teams own the rights to particular numbers, or how does that whole thing work?
Yeah, the owners own the numbers. So the owners, the drivers don't own the numbers. If a driver leaves a team, the numbers belongs to the car owner, so it stays there. Now, there's been times when you can buy, just like you hear about these guys in football or baseball, where they might go to the teammate and buy the number, and so that's happened before. Dad bought the number 8 from the Stavola brothers, and in 2000 or 1999, so that I could use it in the Cup Series, and I think we paid about $100,000, $150,000 or something like that for it. And when we wanted to do the 88, Robert Yates had that number, and we basically the 28 wasn't being used. And so we went to Robert Yates and said, hey, we'd like to have the 88. If you don't want to, turn it over, we're going to use the 28 instead. And we wanted you to know, because the 28 was so synonymous with Robert Yates and Davey Allison. And so the Yates guys came back to us and said, well, we'd rather y'all not use the 28. And we've talked to Haviline too. And I didn't even know Haviline still had any emotions about it, but they didn't want it used either in the Cup Series. So even after all these years, they didn't want the 28 back out there. So they gave us the 88, and that's what we went with. But if in case we could not get the 88 or the 28 for whatever reason, we were thinking 81 That was an option because I'd ran the 81 in the Xfinity Series a couple times. Anyways, we had some different mock-ups going on.
All right, one more question from Brian Ramey. What was the deal with your skeleton driving gloves? Were they a sponsor, or was that just your preference?
I was watching motocross, and I think one of the riders was wearing those gloves, and I just thought, man, that's cool. He stands out. Now I'm instantly curious as to who this guy is and want to watch and see how he does in this race. And I thought those gloves had that big of an impact. I think I'll start wearing them myself. So, I never did the helmet thing. That's not true. I started out doing, sending my helmets off and getting all these crazy paints and designs on them. And so I'm doing that. And I was at a racetrack, and I was sitting next to another driver that I won't name, and he sets his helmet on the pit wall, and a fan walked up and bumped it off pit wall, and it fell to the ground, and the driver was ticked off and said something to the fan. And in that moment, I thought, man, I don't want to ever care that much about my helmet, so much so that I'm not wanting it to get scratched or worried about it getting knocked off dropped in the car or banged up or right. I'm just not even going to do that. And so that's why I went to the black helmet, and I did let Nick paint a little skeleton on, something funny on the back. And but otherwise, I didn't go all out. We had pretty much the same thing every year. I'd tell Nick Pasteur to paint whatever he wants on the back. I don't care. And but otherwise, the helmets are pretty plain. So I went with the gloves to do my thing instead of the paint scheme on my helmet. That was more fun for me.
All right, that's it for
Plus,
today.
the other thing too, sorry.
You're okay.
Plus, when you're watching a guy race, right, and when you're watching a car go around the track or watching on TV, always was really fun when a driver wore white gloves because you could see his hands moving. Yeah. And now with most of the drivers wearing a dark colored gloves, it's harder to see their hands and what their hands are doing. Obviously, we can go with an in-car camera and see, but if you're watching them come around the track from outside the car, and I didn't know if those skeleton gloves help you kind of see what my hands were doing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Thought that was kind of
It did.
Yeah, I thought so too. All right. Well, those are some great questions, Aaliyah. Good job.
Hey, good job to the fans. I just read them.
Yeah. Appreciate everybody for sending those in, and thanks for the support of the podcast. Again, Will Cronkrite is our guest, and it's going to be a lot of fun to he's not come in here just yet, but he'll be here in a minute. And hope everybody's having a great week and enjoy the rest of it. We'll see you at the racetrack, Watkins, Glen, this weekend, radio style. It's going to be a lot of fun. Tune in to NBC and see what we got going on. It should be an awesome race.